Hello and welcome to the City of Cedar Falls Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for February 28th of 2024. I call this meeting to order. Could we get a roll call, please?
Alberhaski?
Here.
Henderson?
Here.
Gribovich? Hartley?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Leeper?
Here.
Sorensen?
Here.
Moser? Stallnaker?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. First item tonight is introduction of some new members to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have Maureen Henderson, Brent Johnson, and Gordon Sorensen that have joined us tonight. I really appreciate you coming aboard. It's going to be a fun ride. I won't require any speeches tonight, but please, if there's something you need to ask a question on, please, staff or anyone from the audience, please participate, and the more sharing of information, the better. So,
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. So now, second order tonight is approval of minutes. Do I have a motion? Comments, questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, that goes into record. This is part of the meeting for a public comment for anything that's not on the agenda tonight. I don't see anyone here tonight, so we will move on to old business. First item for old business is a land use map amendment and rezoning for approximately 2.7 acre parcel formerly known as 3225 West First Street. And Karen?
This item has been withdrawn by the applicant.
Okay, so this is just...
So we don't need to have the hearing, and it just ends this.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Next, new business, zoning code text amendment, updates to the floodplain regulations to adopt the new flood insurance rate maps from FEMA. And who will be speaking?
I will be going over this.
All right. Thank you.
It looks like there's a lot of amendments, but a lot of it is just small things that need to be updated to current terms. We have approximately 8 sections that will need to be updated through this process, and it will adopt the new FEMA floodplain maps for officially for the city, and that date is of them becoming official is May 8th, 2023, and the city has to make sure the ordinances are up to date as part of that map adoption.
Turn your mic on.
Oh, here, I thought it was on, okay. A lot of these updates, the process started in 2023 when FEMA issued what's called a letter of determination, and that basically says all the maps are okay, everything's fine, all the communities are in agreement. But this started in 2010. The state got better topographical mapping data to update for the whole county, and they began the process. We first saw the first set of maps in early 2019. There was a public meeting. As a result of that, Cedar Falls found that we had done some work, particularly in the Dry Run Creek area for the university, as well as there was some construction of Green Hill Road. So we issued an appeal, and an appeal just means that we say, stop, we've got better data, we'd like you to look at it, and if it changes it, please incorporate it into our new maps. And then there was a mapping error found that on South Main Street between Green Hill Road and Orchard Drive that changed some of the properties there, so that went back through a new review and appeal process where actually DNR met with those property owners. And then the maps were ready to be released, and they went through another review, and then there were a couple of other things that had come up. And again, these maps are county-wide, so if another community has something that they're appealing, it sort of pushes that or restarts that time frame. And with all the communities as well as Black Hawk County, this is a really long process to review. And then finally, they were supposed to come into effect on December 1st, 2023, and people were excited about that, but there was a error in the publication by FEMA for the letter of determination, which then has pushed the adoption date out to May 8th of this year. The changes to our ordinance have to be reviewed by DNR, and that was part of the process when we sent it out. FEMA sets minimum standards for participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. However, the city of Cedar Falls participates in what's called the community rating system. And we regulate to a higher flood level, a 500-year elevation. We have some additional regulations that are more restrictive than FEMA's policies. And by doing that, we get a discount of 25% for people who are required to carry flood insurance. So we're in essence helping the community with those costs, and our new development requires everything be flood proof to 1 foot above the 500-year elevation. So unless if there's an extreme flood event, most new development, if there's anything in the floodplain, should be protected except in the most extreme case. So we'll kind of go over briefly what sections. The biggest one is probably the definition section. FEMA added several definitions to that section, as well as there were some places where we had that definition in our flood ordinances, but they wanted it up front. So looks like a lot of changes in that area, but there's not a lot of new wording, but it's just looking at things like the enclosed area below the lowest floor, further defining a factory-built home. Used to factory-built homes basically were regarding what we would have considered at one time a mobile home, but now, manufactured houses, there's all different standards. So those are just some things that were outdated. And then there was section.
Slides?
Oh, I'm sorry. Section 2630 was just a change to how the floodplain development permit is requested. Most of these changes that are incorporated, the city staff had been requiring, but FEMA just again wanted those processes listed. And one of the biggest changes through almost all of these sections is replacing the term buildings with structures, and uses with development. Uses will be development instead of uses, because there's just different things when you look at development. Development could be a ballpark, which doesn't have what we think of as development, but it actually is development. And then sections 26, 31, and 32, this is just basically, again, updating those terms in the ordinance. Section 2633, there were a couple additions to the zoning administrator's role in development in the flood hazard area. Again, most of these things we had been doing, but they weren't spelled out in our ordinance. And then 2635 flood insurance rate maps. This lists the maps that we're adopting by panel number individually. And then in 2619, it breaks out the definition of our floodway overlay district, our floodway fringe district, and then just the general floodplain, and describes those with a separate definition. And then text amendments in the floodway district, again, just replacing the terms, and then it added recreational vehicles to a list of items that, if they are permitted, could be in the floodway. And recreational vehicles, camping is allowed in the floodway because typically those things are not permanent. And if there's flood warning, you can drive the vehicle out. And then our floodway fringe district, there was, again, the replacement of the terms, but there were some additions to the ordinance and actually broke out. We had one section that talked about elevating utilities, elevating equipment, and those things. FEMA just broke that section out into 2 paragraphs addressing equipment and then the utilities. There had been some requirements for when you're filling into a structure, how to do that and how that fill is supposed to extend out from a basement. That wasn't real clear in our previous ordinance, and so FEMA made clarification to that. And then in the, where it talks about subdivision, that it adds utilities being regulated as part of that, as well as a requirement for proposals for subdivisions that are either greater than 5 acres or 50 lots or larger, which our subdivision control ordinance now already has that standard that we review those for. So this is just pulling some of that language, the intent, into our floodplain ordinance. And the additional one is there's a code section that's being updated. It had been incorrect, and then it added another section detailing requirements that talks about a new development, substantial improvement, and substantial damage. And then finally, in the general floodplain overlay district, there's just the replacement of the term uses and development. So, be happy to answer any questions. I know this seems like a lot, but it's,
So is this all just terminology stuff, or are we actually approving a new flood map?
well, you're approving the new flood maps, but as part of that, the ordinance has to be updated.
Because we haven't seen them, have we seen the map?
Yeah, the maps have been published there. We have copies online that's available. They've been out there on the FEMA's website as well. And we actually have, I think there's a layer where you can get to them from the city's floodplain map or flood ordinance or flood page on the city's website.
So just to clarify, the commission is being asked to, your role is to approve amendments to the zoning ordinance, which acknowledges the new flood map panels. You're not being asked to approve the flood maps. Flood maps have already gone through the process and been published by FEMA. They've been out there, they've been reviewed for the last couple of years. So they are telling the city, these are going into effect on May 8th, and you must update your ordinances and acknowledge these panel numbers in your ordinances by that date, or you will be out of compliance. So our role here is just to update our ordinances accordingly.
Yeah, this is the culmination of the several-year process of updating the maps where the public's had a chance to review them and provide comments, as well as the city has done that.
Okay, thank you. Just from being new here, I wasn't sure
Sure,
what we were exactly doing.
And it looks like some of the changes are just reflecting what is actually happening in practice.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, any more questions for staff? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this item? I see no one, so bring it back to commission. Any further discussion? Motion?
Seems pretty straightforward. It's really procedural, so I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll need, I assume, a roll call vote on this.
Yes. Alberhaski,
Aye.
Henderson,
Aye.
Hartley,
Aye.
Johnson. Aye. Leeper,
Aye.
Sorensen,
Aye?
Stallnaker.
Aye.
That motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes any new business. Next order of business is nomination and appointment of officers for the calendar year 2024. And I know Sloan is the nominating committee.
Yes, the nominating committee has convened, and we are happy to nominate Commissioner Hartley for the chair position and Commissioner Leeper as vice chair.
Thank you. I do accept.
I'll second that.
All right, so,
So we probably need a motion to approve those nominations.
okay, a motion and a second. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is this a roll call or a voice vote?
I think you can just voice vote.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, we have new officers. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that concludes the meeting tonight, so I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.